Some people were saying I was a little bit down yesterday, so you asked for this. What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it really helps out our channel. And just a huge thank you to each and every one of you for being here. And if you do want to join, you can, just like these people did. We had some rejoins: Sierra Beerjess, I think I got your name wrong yet again, Alana D, John Tremble, and we also had new members from Tasha Haim and Proto's Keeper. Thank you so much for your support and joining the channel. It really does mean the world. And let's crack on with today's stories. How was that for you? Much love, guys. Oh, and before I forget, if you are a member, keep a lookout today in the community section of the channel. There will be r/RBI coming your way. Now, our first story comes from Jess and Woody. Am I the arsehole for losing it with my friend after she tricked me into eating meat? So I have this friend who was really affronted when I went vegan 5 years ago. I'm not sure why. I never made a big deal of it, to be honest. Generally, the worst things I had to put up with from her are the occasional microaggressions. I'm generally pretty chill about it and tend to ignore her comments or change the subject. Recently, however, she seems to have upped her game. I don't know if she's bored in lockdown and is entertaining herself by bothering me, or what it is, but she's become very intense about converting me back to eating meat, which I have no interest in doing. She's obsessed with sending me these videos of the vegan teacher. For those that don't know, the vegan teacher is some crazy vegan woman who has some very questionable content that verges on racism/homophobia at times. I'm nothing like that, needless to say. Anyway, after months of receiving daily videos of the vegan teacher, updates on how I'm going to die from malnutrition, and being told that I'm part of a cult, my friend tells me that this amazing vegan mince that she's tried. I was surprised, but I guess I was grateful to have some reprieve from the usual, so didn't question it. By the way, I've suffered with health anxiety for a decade, and being bombarded with exaggerated health outcomes regarding my diet in the middle of a deadly pandemic hasn't been helpful, to say the least. So she's adamant she's making me a vegan shepherd's pie with this mince because I just have to try it, etc. So I agreed to her dropping it off in my porch. I was actually quite touched at her thoughtfulness. Long story short, as I was cooking it, I noticed how meaty it smelled, but I've had more realistic meat substitutes lately, so my naive ass thought nothing of it. When I took my first bite, I knew beyond anything that this was real meat. It really revolted me, and I actually felt really betrayed and upset. I called my friend and asked her why she did that, and she said it was for my own good and that she was saving me from a cult. I lost it and told her that if anyone is acting like they're in a cult, it's her, that she's obsessed with making me eat meat, and that quite frankly is getting weird. She cried and hung up. She made several Facebook posts calling me an extremist member of a cult that's cutting me off from my friends. I haven't responded, but all her friends have commented on her status saying what an arsehole I must be. I'm pretty exhausted by this, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm asking for any of this, and I just feel harassed. I just want to be left alone to eat my veggie burgers in peace. My friends seem particularly upset though, and I don't like upsetting people. Am I the arsehole? Now, this is one of those ones where it's obviously not an arsehole. The question itself is not an arsehole. There's no way you could be an arsehole in this situation at all, and she's totally the arsehole, and so are her friends, backing her up and calling you an arse for it. It's ridiculous. But I do enjoy the actual story itself, and that find out that people actually do this weird shit. They thought it was a good thing to do. They're in completely separate houses at the moment, but this person went to the effort of cooking a shepherd's pie to take it round just to trick that person. I think, what the hell are you doing? How insane is that? I find it crazy. So absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. But Baby Yoda ate my nuggie says, not the arsehole, drop kick her out of your life. She seems toxic as fuck. Who the hell does that, man? Shake my head. And Whittles888 says, not the arsehole. What if it was a food allergy that deemed fake and intentionally fed it to you? It happens more than you would think. That's abusing and manipulative, and knowing many vegans, eating meat after a long time of not can make you quite sick. Get away from her and don't turn back. She gave all the warning signs for long enough, and you do not need to satisfy her biases. She doesn't get a say in your diet as you're not suffering from an eating disorder in my opinion. Good luck. And just browsing 616 says, not the arsehole, comment on her status and explain to all her friends that she tricked you into eating meat. See who they think is the arsehole then. And normally I would sort of say, yeah, don't get into Facebook fights because they turn into just pure shit most of the time. But this may be a case where it's worth it. And if her friends still back her up after this, it's just insane, right? Anyway, what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for sending a cease and desist letter to my daughter? I, 51 female, found out that my daughter, 19, has a blog and a YouTube channel with about 2k subscribers. She mostly makes videos about going to a restaurant job and handling young adult life, but recently she's been posting a lot of the content in the mental health category. She's been talking about how she's estranged from both her parents and how she hates my partner of 4 years, 27 male. I accept that she can have her opinions about any partner I may have, but in one of her blogs and a subsequent video, she opened up about her high school years. In the content, she posted she claims that my boyfriend is bipolar and that he'd go through periods where he was very amicable and gregarious, and others where he'd sleep in the guest room and close all the curtains to his room, and claims that I hid his mental illness from the world. I called my daughter and confronted her on publicly labeling my boyfriend bipolar. Those claims are factually untrue. My boyfriend's therapist all unanimously determined he was not bipolar, he just had anxiety and a pattern of avoidance towards that anxiety due to a bad childhood, and he subsequently channels into a general state of sullenness. He also has to deal with fighting with my daughter. Once his brother gave him the moniker the Grim, and it caught on with my daughter, and she would call him his name, the Grim, which exasperated his moods. The way her online presence portrayed him was like he was chemically imbalanced and off his meds, and that I was an enabler. I was not an enabler and simply appreciated that when things in his life were going smoothly, he was extremely creative, intelligent, focused, and funny. He was spontaneous and would try to do nice things for both of us and apologise for his anxiety, and while his sullen days were bad, he ultimately still always made the responsible decisions in everything he did. I told my daughter to take it down because she was basically defaming him, and she refused and said she was trying to tell her story. I ended up having my lawyer send a cease and desist letter to my daughter regarding her slandering my boyfriend's state of mental health. She called and asked who used lawyers against their daughter and that she couldn't afford legal help. I told her to just take the content down. Am I the arsehole for trying to protect my boyfriend's good name? And we're going to start off with Anchovy Mac and Cheese on this one, saying, so you were 47 with a 15-year-old daughter when you started dating a 23-year-old. My god, how uncomfortable for her that you brought in somebody so close to her in age, who also has moody behaviour and notorious enough to get in the nickname the Grim, and he fights with your kid. I'm having a hard time believing your daughter didn't have a problem with this for many reasons, yet you never mention it in the post. In fact, you barely mention anything beyond your feelings on the matter. Your daughter has a right to vent, especially since I'm getting the impression that you wouldn't listen if she tried to talk to you about it. If she hasn't named this guy in the video, then she's not doing anything wrong. This post is disturbing, and I really feel for your daughter. It sounds like you were exposing her to an unhealthy situation because you were putting your needs ahead of hers. You're the arsehole. And Friendly says, you're the arsehole. You, as a 47-year-old woman, moved a 23-year-old man into your house with your 15-year-old daughter, and you care more about his health, comfort, and happiness than your own daughter. I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg of your terrible parenting. Leave your daughter alone. If she's talking about her experience and how others made her life miserable, and she's not identifying by name, then she's legally in the clear. And Active Berry says, the fact that you're dating someone 16 years closer to your daughter's age than your own raises some red flags here. When your daughter was 15, you were dating a 23-year-old. Yikes. The fact that you skipped straight from call your daughter to have your lawyer send a cease and desist raises more. The way you sort of slide right past you and your daughter being estranged is weird too. Everyone sucks here, but the way you describe the situation really makes me wonder what's being left out. And our next story is from CNEC. Am I the arsehole for not picking up my drunk girlfriend from the bar? 29 male here. I believe in saying what you mean. If you say no, don't do that or something like that, I'm not going to do it no matter the tone or attitude you give. I don't have time for that childish crap. Say what you mean. So I was going to meet my girlfriend, 23 female, at the bar with her friends after work. By the time I got out, I was tired and ready for home. She called me asking if I was going to come out. She was obviously drunk and I said I don't want to. She got quiet. I asked if she needed me to come and get her and she said she could probably sober up. An hour goes by and nothing. I call her asking again if she needs a ride. She's still drunk and now she's hysterically crying. She says she's trying to sober up but is having a hard time. I again ask her if she needs a ride. She says no, she doesn't want to bother me, and being a big believer in saying what you mean, I say okay, be safe and go take a shower. She didn't come over. Next day she apologised for her behaviour, said she was dumb and just drank a little too much. I don't think I've ever seen her actually drunk, so she doesn't have a problem. It's water under the bridge for me, but the next time she went with her friends, I was going to join, until she stopped and explained my friends thought it was concerning I didn't come get her. Again, she said no. If she wanted me to pick her up, she should have said something. She said it was no big deal to her. She should have watched how much she drank, but didn't want her friends heckling me all night. It kind of made me second guess myself. Was I the arsehole? Now, in my opinion, I think you knew what she wanted in this situation. You knew she wanted picking up, but you just wasn't going to do it because you go by this motto of say what you mean kind of stuff, and you was just sort of sticking by it, which I think is kind of trashy to just do that. You know what she wanted in the end. Yes, she's drunk. Yes, she's fucked up. And in my opinion, if I was in that situation and my partner was doing this and they was drunk and I could clearly tell that they really did want picking up, I would pick them up out of empathy. They fucked up. That's my partner. I would support them. Not sort of go, all right, if you're not going to say it, I'm not going to pick you up. I mean, come on, man. And let's not forget that OP was going to go out with them in the first place, but then they changed their mind. So I think my opinion on this one is going to be you are an arsehole for this, just simply because of that. And I may be wrong. People may say, she's drunk, she made the mistake, she needs to live by it, die by the sword kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I'm going with on that one. And Misplaced Text says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, I believe in saying what you mean. And then says, you said you were going to meet her there. And Glib Turret says, you're the arsehole because you lack empathy. Stop telling your girlfriend to use her words. She isn't a toddler. You aren't her dad. You sound condescending and mean. You made plans with her and broke them after she was already at the venue. I don't care if you were tired. That's still rude as fuck. You had an obligation to go meet her and you didn't hold up your end. Of course she's going to tell you not to come get her if you already told her you don't want to come. She's a normal person with empathy who cares about your feelings. She doesn't want to put you out. She's also drunk and probably felt safe about getting drunk because she thought you were coming to meet her. How was she supposed to know you were going to cancel on her at the last possible second? How was she supposed to anticipate that you'd be that inconsiderate? Women are socialized not to make a fuss / not to be too needy. I'm sure this was in her head when she was talking to you. I'm sure she could hear it in your voice that you thought she was annoying and that coming together would be a pain in your ass, and yet you want to make this all her fault by telling her she should have used her words. Bro, you should have used your empathy, but it sounds like you don't have any. You know why your girlfriend is 6 years younger than you, because women your age don't put up with this level of assholery from their boyfriends. Grow up and stop being a dick. If you're gonna meet someone, do it. I'm tired is not an excuse. And Stairs motherfuckerly says, you're the arsehole, I believe in saying what you mean. And then says, but you were. And then quotes again saying, going to meet your girlfriend, 23 female, at the bar with her friends after work. And quotes, she called me asking if I was going to come out. She was obviously drunk and I said I don't want to. She got quiet. And then says, do you think she may have been hurt by your change of plans and not saying what you mean? And then Kalinek says, I mean, do you expect drunk people to make good decisions? She's crying hysterically, but you think she'll make good decisions as to if she needs a ride. How was she getting home? Did she have Uber money? Was she waiting to drive? I'm changing my judgment to you're the arsehole because it wasn't a miscommunication. You knew what she wanted and knew what was happening, but refused to help because she didn't use her words. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Do you think boyfriend is the arsehole? Do you think girlfriend is the arsehole? Do you think everyone sucks here? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Logical Ant. Am I the arsehole for letting my daughter have bugs in her room to teach her a lesson about stealing? I, 36 male, have a pet bird who eats mealworms as part of his diet. My daughter loves animals and constantly tries to steal the worms, despite being told numerous times that she's not allowed to have them. I don't like her going into my room and they are not hers. I've tried to let her be in charge of other animals, such as our cat, and I got her a fish, but she's simply not ready for any kind of responsibility. Maybe when she reaches her teens. In the past, she's attempted to steal the mealworms. I've been able to stop her before she gets them, but when I got back from work I noticed that a pack of mealworms had been partly left open and immediately knew that she carried out her mealworm heist. Instead of going into my daughter's room and demanding to know where she had put them, I decided that I'd teach her a lesson about taking things that didn't belong to her. Mealworms grow into beetles, so I thought that when her cute little worm grew into a nasty bug, she had finally learned her lesson and the fight would be over. I had that batch of worms for a while and her room is pretty warm, so I guess they grew faster than I thought they might. She woke me up in the middle of the night in hysterics because there were bugs in her room and she wanted me to get rid of it. I explained to her that the reason there were bugs in her room is because she decided to steal the mealworms from me and they had turned into beetles. I told her that she needed to face the consequences of her actions and she had two options. She could either get rid of them herself or she could wait until the morning and I'd get them for her. I was not getting up in the middle of the night because she decided to steal. She was scared to remove them by herself, so she asked if she could sleep in my room, but we just stopped co-sleeping and I didn't want to go back to bad habits. I believe she ended up sleeping in her playroom instead. In the morning after I removed the beetle, she kept saying things like, "I hate daddy," and "daddy's mean," which was hurtful, but kids will be kids. I guess it upset her so much that she decided to call her mum and have her mum pick her up. For some reason my other daughter decided to go to her mum's house as well. I thought it was a creative way to teach natural consequences, and in the morning she would laugh about it, but apparently not. Now both of my kids are gone over some stupid worms. Am I the arsehole or are they overreacting? I don't get the logic on this one. Why did you think that was going to be ever going to be a good outcome from that? That you thought you was going to teach her a lesson about letting bugs run in her room, and even when she woke you up in hysterics, basically panicking about the situation, you told her that this is her fault and she needs to find somewhere to sleep. And she sounds quite young in this. Pre-teens, at least it confirms in this story. But from the language it says later on, like "daddy's mean," and "I hate daddy," that sounds like really young language to me. It comes across to me anyway. And then for you to tell her that she just needs to go and sort it out herself, and then she ended up sleeping in the playroom. Yes, you've scarred her with this, I think. If you didn't want her touching the mealworms, you could have went down a much better route. You could have turned it into a learning experience and said, look, these worms are going to turn into beetles at some point and you don't want these running around your room, do you? And showed her what happened. You could have given her a jar and showed her what happened and watched the bug change herself, and she would have probably enjoyed that experience. Instead, you turned it into a whole negative one that she's probably going to remember for a very, very long time. You Burke. But Dominoes and Ho says, "You're the arsehole. What in the literal hell, dude? Consequences for a kid's actions is fine, but this is too far, I think. Also, how old is the kid?" And For Sure 4 says, "You're the arsehole. Your daughter sounds young. I can get behind letting them turn into beetles so she could see firsthand what happened, but letting her be upset in the middle of the night and A, not helping her, or B, not even letting her sleep in your room with you is cruel." And Wee Woo says, "You're the arsehole. Tormenting a kid with bugs isn't the amazing parenting moment you think it is." And another Curtin says, and quotes, "I was not getting up in the middle of the night because she decided to steal." And then says, "You will get up in the middle of the night because she is a 10-year-old child who you need to talk and communicate, not leave alone afraid." And then quotes again saying kids will be kids. And it says, "Well, I have news for you. She will grow up to be an adult with memories of a father who didn't care enough to get a bug from her room. Please make things up and think about this while you still have the chance. A big, you're the arsehole for now." Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. "Am I the arsehole for not making dinner for my husband after he was rude to our son? My son, 13, has recently gotten into cooking and he's amazing at it. Usually when he was experimenting or making food for just himself, he washed up. He started helping me out with meals, and 2 times a week now he cooks dinner by himself. My husband has been insisting he washes his own dishes up, but I usually just wind up doing them. I don't particularly like feeling like I'm doing nothing. 4 nights ago, he sat me down and said I needed to stop doing our son's chore. He made the mess so he cleans it. He shouldn't be getting away with it. I replied that while it was true for small single person meals, it doesn't work the same for family meals. He got huffy about it, at which point I said, why does he have to wash up, but I don't? At which point he got kinda quiet. He tried excusing his behaviour, but each time there was a flaw and he basically huffed off. He came back a couple hours later and said something along the lines of, we have to make him realise how hard life can be, at which point I basically told him to fuck off. Here's where I may be the arsehole. I implemented a new rule. You have to somehow be a part of dinner in order to eat it. So for example, my son makes dinner and I wash the dishes, therefore we both get to eat it. My husband was angered by this rule and I replied by telling him to put his rubber gloves on and get cleaning. So far my son and I have had 3 amazing meals and my hub has left the house to go eat elsewhere. Our funds are separate so it has no effect on me. My son thinks it's pretty cool. He's always much preferred me over his father and this bonding time is really important to him, but family think I'm being way too harsh, agreeing that he should do more chores. I disagree, but no one seems to be on my side, so I come to you. Dear Reddit, am I the arsehole? And we'll start off with Alert Potato saying and quoting, he's always much preferred me over his father, and then says, you don't say. That's because his father is an arsehole. The goal of parenting is to raise a child into a functioning adult member of society. The goal is not to treat children like slave labour so they can learn how goddamn hard life is. There is a lot of time to learn how hard life is. He needs people to model good behaviour, stand up for him, and teach him basics of how to care for himself, his belongings, and his home when he leaves. You are doing that. You had his back when his dad was being an arsehole to him. You stood for fairness instead of letting someone come in and treat your son poorly specifically because he's a child. You are not the arsehole, but your husband absolutely is. And Bondo Wallace says, not the arsehole, your husband needs to know how hard life can be. And Hologram says, sounds like you all have way bigger problems than dishes after a meal. Might want to get to the bottom of it and take it to relationship advice. And Private Eyes 2020 says, everyone sucks here. You're right about your son not needing to do the dishes when doing a family meal, but your solution is really unfortunate. This part is particularly disturbing. In quotes, my son thinks it's pretty cool. He's always much preferred me over his father, and this bonding time is really important to him. And then says, the idea of you and your son bonding over sticking it to his father doesn't bode well for your marriage and is damaging to the father-son relationship. Now it might well be that the father is enough damage all on his own, but you shouldn't be adding to it. And Anoni Andro says, everyone sucks here, you two need to sort yourselves out. Like someone else said, sounds like these issues run deeper than the dinner and dishes. Your husband is showing your son that rules and being right are more important than his family. You are turning your son against your husband. All in all, dysfunctional. And the Mickey says, not the arsehole. In what world is the person who does all the hard work to cook the meal online for doing the dishes for the meal too? No, if you cook the meal then someone else does the dishes / cleans up the kitchen. It's only fair. With 3 of you it makes sense that person A cooks, person B sets and clears the table, person C does the dishes, wipes off the stove and countertops. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Once again guys, thank you for being here today and just for the time out of your day and getting involved with the channel constantly. I can't believe January is over already and you guys are still with me, still supporting, still seeing the same names, faces and everyone down in the comments. It really does make my day. Thank you so much for being you. If you do want to support the channel further, you absolutely can, but never any pressure to do so by clicking that join button down below for YouTube or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and heading on over there. As I said, no pressure to do so, but it really helps out. And thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys. Take care now. Goodbye.